you want to focus on, the 70 to 80% of the market that's going to move the business forward for you, right? And typically it's no more than 2 to 3.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. All right, we're doing it. We're having another great conversation, and I can't wait to introduce my guest today. I have chatted with him on another podcast, on a different podcast, the Hardcore Marketing Show. If you haven't checked that one out, that's the original OG show, and that's where I met my guest here today. We had a great conversation. So we were catching up, and I said, man, I would love to get that knowledge in there out to the audience of the Connect to Market pod. So without further ado, let me introduce him. Who is he, Casey? Who is he? He is a transformation-driven marketing leader, thought leader. He's a strategic advisor, a writer, a podcaster, a speaker, and a mentor. He's been in the fintech and financial services for what feels like thousands of years. Don't quote me on that, but it feels like he's got some real expertise that we want to crack into. Chief Marketing Officer at New, Yogesh Mehra. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Casey. Pleasure to be here, and great to see you. Can't wait to talk about all the exciting stuff. Thank you for the kind introduction. Hard to top that.
It is hard to top, but we should probably just end here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Just call it at the introduction. All right. Well, so in order for me to ask my first question, I need to put on this giant foam finger. All right, Yogesh, tell me, sir, what is the number one thing that marketers need to do in order to connect to their market?
Yeah. So the number one thing they have to do is connect to the customer.
Yeah.
Connecting to the customer is the through line to connect to the market. And, there have been so many, as I reflect on all the roles I've had, there have been so many times when I walked into the role with a hypothesis that was either not substantiated by facts, or just did not make sense in how we were thinking about the customer. And where I would like to start is really unpacking the customer, what's important to them. And there are qualitative ways to go about it. There are quantitative ways to go about. But that's kind of how I would approach connecting to the customer is the first step.
Yeah, I love the idea of the through line, right? It is a step in the journey to connecting to the market is connect to the customer first. How do you like to approach that? Is there a first step in that journey? Is it multiple considerations? How do you like to go there?
That's a very timely question. So let me talk about my role right now.
Yeah.
So heading marketing for New, we are in the service of serving the underserved. We have credit card offerings that are very differentiated credit card offerings that are tailored to the customers that are new to credit. So think of, student, domestic, international student, young professional, graduates. And then it's also meant for the other end of the spectrum where somebody has fallen upon hard times and are on the mend with the credit. So when I walk in the role, there is, there is one ICP we are working towards, and all our marketing activities are 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 uh, are, are assuming that that's the ICP we have. So where I start with that is really having intelligence both quantitatively and qualitatively. So that's the short answer. Starting with quantitative and qualitative, sort of aspects. So quantitatively, when we ran the analysis and did some very basic statistical clustering, what we found was there is more than one persona that jumps out. There is the one that we were thinking about, but then there is another one that is relatively advanced in their professional life, relatively advanced in their understanding of credit, and that's a persona that we were totally missing on, right? And qualitatively as well, when we spoke with these customers, there is just a whole new shade that emerges. And when we put them together, now we realize that we are actually not talking to 40% of the market for which our product is very, very relevant. So starting with the customer using qualitative, quantitative insights really is going to help us lock the 40% of the market that was dormant.
Right.
And that's a game changer, right? Not just business and P&L and all that, but also from a mission standpoint, trying to help the people who are trying to make progress in an environment where they don't have a ton of favorable options. So, but that's an example how I think about this. It's very timely to me. I'm a big advocate of start with the customer, figure out what they want, and then everything is backward from there.
It makes me wonder how many times we don't go through this exercise and we just assume we think we know what the customer needs and wants, you know?
Yeah, that's very prescient. I think a lot of times we fall into that trap.
Yeah. I mean, I have for sure. I assume that I know what they want. And amazingly, the stats are never as good when I'm assuming what they want versus when I've actually reached out, connected with them, done the quantitative, done the qualitative work to find out what they actually want.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There are nuggets there that are very, very actionable.
Yeah. Um, I mean, how many personas do you typically think companies have? Is it generally one? You talked about, this secret one that was hiding out there that you discovered. Does that happen a lot, you think?
So I've been in companies, mostly financial services and fintech of all shapes and sizes, starting from, pre-seed all the way to the largest bank in the country.
Sure.
There are different approaches everybody takes. Been doing this for some time. I'm of the belief that any more than three personas are more or less, any any more than three, and you get to a point of diminishing return.
Mhm.
And your marketing really dilutes. You add too much complexity. Um, difficult to execute. Some compliance repercussions as well in from the lending side of things. So there is a lot of unnecessary complication, and the juice is not worth the squeeze after three persona. So that's kind of, I would say, is for me actually, it's the inflection point after which it doesn't make sense. Uh, if you are more on the early side, maybe a startup, Series A and onwards, even two personas might make sense in a lot of cases. You want to focus on, the 70 to 80% of the market that's going to move the business forward for you, right? And typically, it's no more than two to three.
It kind of struck me when you were mentioning, focusing on the 70-80%, the idea of not only are we not doing this buyer persona work, but, um, and certainly not discovering what the needs actually are, but how often do we fall in the trap of building out programs, extensive programs for the 30 to 20%, right? We're not focused on the largest slice. We're focused on, we found a slice and we just zero in on it, not thinking about how big is this in comparison to the whole pie.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. And there are so many factors that kind of lead to that kind of decision making. But I've seen that happen so many times, especially in the larger organizations.
Yeah. And just a waste of resources, or certainly not an efficient use of resources.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But there is sometimes quite a bit of inefficiencies in some of these organizations, so they don't mind.
Yeah.
spending the time and doing things. I mean, a lot of times, I've also seen is somebody has a very strong opinion on things, then somebody wants to focus on this marginal segment that may not move the needle, but they do it anyway. I
Hmm.
have seen that a lot happening in the larger organization. So there's always that, organizational currents and undercurrents and politics that happens. Sometimes what I've seen is some of those decisions are less grounded in data and more about, you know, uh, the personal opinion of somebody who is high up. Which is why I think, um, I think marketing leaders have a very important role right now. It's a difficult role, but it's also a critical and a pivotal role right now to make sure they need to be the compass of truth in a lot of ways. How do we focus on? What do we focus on to drive the business forward? How do we go about building a growth organization? What are the components of the growth organization? Who sees it that way? Who does not see it that way? How to bring the stakeholders along? A lot of what's happening right now could be very disruptive to a lot of stakeholders, right? Or just to teams and people in general. How do you really lead the change? So that's why I think marketing leaders today, doing marketing is table stakes. There is a whole lot of change management and influencing that they have to do, more than any other time in the past. So it's a complex job right now. Exciting, super exciting. You are in a hot seat. You have the opportunity to make a difference like you've never had before, right? So no. But it's it's an area, it's a position where you can make a deep impact and a lasting impact in the organization.
What has you most excited? Because I agree, it is an exciting time. What has you most excited?
There are a few things. I think the one that's top of my mind is this collaboration between AI and humans.
Yeah.
This is just a whole new dynamic. There is no playbook for that. And how do you really, how do you think about it? How do you bring it forward in building your marketing organization? Um, what are the bets you make? What are the intentional choices that you're going ahead with? Right? All those things are, it's all a gray area right now, and that's very very fascinating to me. If you would ask me, Yogesh, a year ago, or maybe even 6 months ago,
Right.
um, how am I going to set up my organization uh, in the role I'm in?
Hmm.
My answer now is going to be different than it would have been even 6, 9 months ago. All these changes are happening at a very, very dizzying pace. Right now, the way I think about it is, you know, I might have three swim lanes, and one of the swim lanes is going to be just agents
Mm. Yep.
eventually. It's going to be machine builders to begin with. So think, prompt engineering, data literacy, all of that. Eventually, that swim lane would be agent. So there would be a swim lane for agent, a swim lane for a human guardian, and then the third swim lane is what we are most familiar with, which is a strategic orchestrator and integrator of machines and humans,
Mm.
right? So this whole thinking is it's new, it's evolving. There is no playbook for that. And if you would have, if I were to say those words, 9 months ago, I would be, I'd be laughed at. Nobody would take that seriously. But now that's the direction. I think nobody can predict the future here,
Right.
crystal ball. But I think that may be where we are headed. So that gets me really, really excited. I do well. I enjoy the gray areas. I enjoy transformation. I enjoy evolution, and there is no era that's been more interesting for evolution than the era we are in right now. So that's very very exciting. And one of the things, the great thing, you can say the great thing or the not so great thing, but I think what's great about this is that nobody has done this before. So it's an equal playing field for everyone. Like you could be an underdog.
Right.
You could be, a pre-seed company, and you could kick butt of, somebody who is an incumbent and way larger than you, just because you played right with the AI and collaboration and all that. So that's the most exciting and liberating thing about the change we are going through.
Do you think we're still having these same conversations in even a year or 2 years? I mean, with the speed of everything innovating.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I was I was in a good company of some of the well-respected CMOs that of the organization they all know and respect last week. And one thing that's just clear to me is that uh, um, nobody really knows where this is going.
Yeah.
They cannot, and these are CMOs of, big, Fortune 50. Uh, and like it's hard to predict. My sort of takeaway was that it's really hard to predict how things will look like in 6 months from now. Forget 2 years. So we are really going to figure all this out. And when I think about the range of possibilities in terms of things that AI can help with,
Mm-hmm.
I feel we may be in, top of the first inning for the analogy. We may be the top of first innings in this 9 innings game, which will last over decades, possibly.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. So, definitely, I think we are going to be having this conversation for a long, long time. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
Well, no, I mean, it's true too, because as much as things change,
Yeah.
they stay the same, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think that's right.
Are you deep in the planning cycle for 2026?
Yeah, we are.
It feels like planning for a year, the more you know, the more planning you want to do, but what's most important? How do you and how do you approach it?
Yeah. So I think the planning, the constraint, the goal, the pressure point, they're all different in different kinds of organization, right? So planning process would look very different for the largest bank in the country versus, a Series A. That's where we are, right?
Yeah.
So without getting into, too much detail there, I would say that the principles remain the same.
Yeah.
One is, how do you deliver the outcome? There is just no substitute for that. Doesn't matter. Right. Got to deliver the outcome. You need to
Right.
make goal, today, tomorrow, week, month, year. Right? That's just non-negotiable. So that needs to
Right.
happen, regardless of
Right.
variable. Second is, in the planning, how do you position yourself for the long term? So it's not just meeting goals. You can meet goals now, but if you are not making the right bet, you'll be obsolete in 2 years, the way things are progressing right now, right? So are you making the right bets? Are you investing in the right tools, platform technologies, so you're not replaced?
Mm.
And the third thing that's very, very important is the enablers. So platform technology, all of that is, was the second thing that I talked about. The enabler would be specifically for talent. The talent that we want to succeed in the future um, is going to be slightly different than the one uh, that kind of was, we call it 10x talent, right? I think it's going to look different going forward.
Okay.
The I think right now or in the past, we put a lot of focus on specialization. How well do you know, um, referral marketing
Right.
or paid marketing or organic marketing or you know um, product life cycle, all the things that are deep disciplines in and of itself, right?
Yep.
Sales cycle, all of that. And I think it's important. What's going to, I think, happen is we are going to see a rise of journalists. So we'll see, sort of journalists that are really good at one or two things, but they can also kind of stretch themselves
Mm-hmm.
across other disciplines. So we'll
Yeah.
see a rise of journalists um, that collaborate really well with the new platform, new tool, with the AI that's available to us. And the skill set that's needed is going to be, and the sort of the mental toolkit needed to succeed in that new world is going to be slightly different from what's been in the past. So I think that kind of how, so going back to your question,
Yeah.
I think that's how I kind of see planning happening, and those are all the elements. Yeah, some really good questions.
Well, that's because I'm in planning season 2, and
That's right.
it's time to figure these things out. Well, my next question really for you is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know these things? Can you take me back in time? What was it like growing up you? Do you know you're going to be a marketer in the future?
Yeah, I know we had this conversation many years ago.
Yeah.
And no, I did not. I grew up in a small town. My dad had uh, foundry business, and I always wanted to be a mechanical engineer. So I did mechanical engineering, and I started. I love programming. I created my own tic-tac-toe. I loved it. I was like, oh, you know what? This is pretty
Yeah.
cool. I think I want to be want to be in technology. So
Yeah.
I started in technology, and then I talked to marketers. I was interacting with them, and then I really liked marketing. I said, oh, I have a lot of skills and strengths that really align well with marketing. So I changed my career to marketing. So I had a lot of my career is very non-linear. Think about it. I've been in engineering of one kind, moved to technology, moved to business side. So I think, and a lot of people that I feel I respect quite a bit, and I find always learn from them and other people who have had a non-linear background
Mm-hmm.
that then just ran. They just found themselves, discovered themselves as they went along, and embraced the new opportunities that lined up with their strengths, and they were not afraid to take the risks and make the changes. Uh, and that's been a bit of my own trajectory as well. I hope I don't, I love what I'm doing. I hope there is no more surprises in the store for me, but
Mm.
we'll see.
We'll see, right? That's the nature of things. Um, what advice would you give the young marketer just entering this career nowadays, knowing all the changes that are going on?
Yeah, I'm chuckling because I had a conversation with somebody.
Did
This
you
con
really?
that conversation with somebody yesterday. I think understanding your area of expertise, that's table stakes.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think the skills that are going to differentiate a young marketer, um, young professional in general, but especially young marketer, would be uh, starting with the first principles. So all technology, platform, all of that is changing. But when you start with the customer, you cannot lose sight of the customer. I cannot tell you how many times I've walked into situations where everybody's solving for conversion rates and channels and creative, and when I ask, when I double click on a few things, I realize that we just lack basic understanding of the customer. So
Mm-hmm.
starting with the customer, I think that would be the single, because you can never go wrong. You can never go wrong starting with the customer and then working your backwards. That's just If there is one thing, I would say that. And then I'd say the superpowers of tomorrow are going to be curiosity.
Yeah.
So when going back to the during base, I mean, it is a new tool every week,
It really is.
right? I mean, I think it can be somebody's full-time job actually could be just keeping a track of the new tools and then, comparing the new with the old. That might be actually a full-time job.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So curiosity, very, very important. Uh,
Hmm.
Judgment. There is so much AI slop right now that I see, and it's only going to get worse. Um, and then creativity,
Yep.
because you're gonna see so many solutions that are coming from AI, right? That the differentiator is going to be the creativities that only, that only comes from originates from humans. So creativity is going to be very, 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 very important. So those are the things I think that will differentiate a lot. Curiosity, creativity, and having a good judgment. Um, Sorry, one other thing that's going to help is the ability to pivot quickly.
Hmm.
So make the adjustment. You need to have strong opinions loosely held. So when your hypothesis doesn't work or the situations change, you have to be able to have the agility to kind of adjust your point of view, adjust the direction, and all of that. That's the other thing that's going to go a long way.
It's so much to stay up with, right? And it's funny if you can
Spend
hire a full timer, you could easily to just keep up with it. You know, it can be a challenge for those just getting started to also keep up with it. But if that's like the new side hustle now, right? It's just keeping up with those things and but also leveraging them and bring them to bear.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right. Well, maybe that's something that you have a big fan following and you have a platform. Maybe you can try putting that together. You're forward looking yourself and
Mm,
have that be you know something that you can help educate all your followers.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that yeah, we're trying to keep up with it, you know, and what's great is with the pod, it helps me keep in track with it, and also there's some repetition too. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people that need to hear something a few times before I adopt it or I'm convinced, you know, and so I've had a bunch of different conversations, but finally, it was within the week, I attended an AI summit and got a great podcast episode on some LLM type stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, finally, I surrender. I will, not just adopt it generally, but, like, aggressively adopt it across the organization," you know?
Repetition is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
Um,
is.
I think exactly. Things that are important. I think you're spot on. You just have to reiterate it every opportunity for it to register.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, where can people reach out and connect with you if they wanna take these conversations further?
100%. I appreciate that question. I find that a lot of what I'm learning, what others are learning, are a big part of that is just interacting with other marketers and having a dialogue. So
Yeah.
uh, I'd love to connect with anybody at LinkedIn.
Yep.
That's the best way to uh, go about it.
Okay. Absolutely. We'll put a link in the show notes to those too. Um, fantastic. Um, Yogesh, thank you so much for coming on here. It was great to catch up with you, do another podcast, right? One is, you know, it could be a fluke, but when it's two, it's not a fluke, it's a pattern. And I hope to continue this with you. So thank you for coming on here. And man, I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to always see you and always fun to have this conversation with you. I really enjoyed it and look forward to catching up more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with those listening, if you learn something with this, share this with one other person, two other people. 9,000 would be cool too, but who needs to hear this information? Get good information into other people's hands. With that, Yogesh, thank you again, sir.
Talk to you soon.
All right, everyone. This has been another crazy exciting episode of the Connect to Market Pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connecttomarket.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.